Hey, it's Greg here. See, there. So the first question, continuous or discrete? So continuous is for things that can be measured, like temperature. Discrete, things that can be counted, like chicken's eggs. So it's not just a matter of is there a decimal or not. So you might look at this data and say, look at whole number, whole number, whole number. It doesn't matter if it's a whole number or decimal. The idea is, are units counted or are they discrete? So if there's 49 units and there's 50 units, I could pick anything in between and say, is it possible that there's 49.3677211362118, etc. units? Can a person have that many units in a college? And the answer is no. Could they have 49 and a half? Yes, because there are PE classes that are half a unit. But could they have this? No. Okay, sorry about the scrolling. Next, for a box plot. So you can use your calculator to get the 5 numbers for that. But the one thing I want to point out here is draw to scale. So I don't know what the numbers are. Let me just make up an example. So let's say that it is a 10 right here. And then the very biggest one is a 100. Well, then you shouldn't go like this. The 50 goes right here, the 60 goes right here, and the 94 goes right here. Like I said, I'm just making up these numbers. I'm just trying to make a point, and that is it should be drawn to scale. So this is not drawn to scale because going from 10 to 50, that's 40 points right there, and yet from here to here is only 6 points. So instead, you get your eraser and start over. So if it were going from, let me make the numbers even easier. How about if we go from 0 to 100? Then what you should do is just make a little mark. So right in the middle is 50. Right about here would be 25. And right about here would be 75. And at the end, I would erase those red numbers. Then make the box plot. So if the next number is, say, 23, now I know where to put 23. Right about here is the 23. And if the next number is 48, then I know where to put 48, etc. And then at the end, I would go back and just erase those red numbers. Okay? And don't forget to explain. That's one of the most common mistakes is people forget to do that. Explain what it says. Mean, median, mode, and range. So that's pretty straightforward. Mode is the number that shows up the most. Notice that there can be a tie. Like if there's 3 people that have 50 units and there's 3 people that have 60 units, then there could be 2 modes. Finding the range and standard deviation. Range is very easy. That's just the biggest number minus the smallest. And the standard deviation, you should definitely be using the calculator and not the formula to get that. For the next one, as soon as I saw the word unusual, then my brain said, do the z-score. So take the score minus the mean divided by the standard deviation. And then if that's over 2, it's considered unusual. If it's under 2, it's also considered unusual. When the z is over 2, that means it's an unusually high number. If it's under 2, it's an unusually low number. So creating a frequency table, that's where you start by taking the range and divide it into 5 equal pieces. Most likely this will be a decimal, and when you round it, make sure that you round up. So even if it turned out to be a 12.1, I would still have to round it up to 13. So then you start making the table. 1, 2, 3. So these are going to be the classes and these are going to be the frequencies. And then you would start with the very smallest number down here, and whatever you got over here for the width, you would add that on, plus the width, add it on again, add it on again, and then fill in the numbers. Making a histogram just means take this information, and on the x-axis will be the numbers from this column, and I usually just use the middle one, so whatever's in the middle of this number and this number, and then however tall that is, which is smiley face, then you make a bar graph that goes up to the smiley face, and at the end the bars should be touching. There's no gap between them. So this one is just which sampling method, so there were 5 sampling methods, so that you can even look up. Number 3, just try to think critically what could be a couple of problems with that. And then standard deviation. So if the scores go from here to here, so the smallest to the biggest, and somewhere in the middle is the mean, standard deviation is saying how spread out the scores are. So if all the scores are very close, maybe there's a couple that aren't, but let's say all the scores are like this, then the standard deviation is very small. If the scores are more spread out, then the standard deviation would be big.